And hello, everybody, and welcome to the virtual chapter for July 2021. What a lovely month it has been here. Lots of just dripping, pouring rain in Florida for quite some while now, but really a relief from all the dry weather that we've had. I hope it's good where you are. I did go to Chicago long enough to experience a tornado in the hotel that I was in. It was just really magnificently fun. And
welcome home. That we arranged that so that you would feel right at home.
yeah, I was all ready for the, I had my Ruber slippers and everything with me. So, just in case something like that happens, I always want to be ready. All right. So it's great to see you tonight. And hi, Karen. So how are things in Chicagoland?
Things are great in Chicagoland. We've had some of that rain too, but we're going to have a couple of sunny days. So I'm looking forward to that as long as we're talking weather. Other than that, everything's great in Chicago. Everything's headed toward, at this point, HT Live. I am looking forward to actually getting on an airplane and going someplace. I'm looking forward to teaching classes in front of people. Don't misunderstand. I love doing it via Zoom from the comfort of my office, but I really am looking forward to being in the company of other human beings. Yeah. I think it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, me too. But I'll tell you what, once we're in front of a live audience, you have to remember how to duck and stuff, at least.
Don't globalize that, please. You said you have to remember. I have never had to duck. So own that. I have to remember to duck.
Oh, so in other words, you're inexperienced at that kind
of... I've never had to duck. I'm just telling you.
Well, so it's going to be a great night tonight. We're going to have Donna Bloom talk to us about Ho-oponopono. I think I said it right. I love that name, by the way, because, there's a fish in Hawaii, too. Some of you are aware of the huma huma nuka nuka wapu wa'a. That took me a long time to learn how to say that. And so every opportunity I get. So if a Hawaiian word starts with an H, I've got to do my fish thing. But so we'll be talking to Donna in just a few minutes. But we also have, you will recall, started this practice of adding in a couple of features here and there and different things for you. We want to make sure that you go home with a couple of new things, not only the benefits of what our guest speaker has to bring to us, but some basic lessons, reminders, tips, and things for hypnotists. And I'm actually wanting tonight to be the one to talk to you about that. Gosh, we're hypnotists, y'all remember this, this profession that we were in, hypnotherapists, and somehow or another that implies, at least, that we know something about the way that people operate. And, and what an interesting idea, but that we know something, and we know something about how to make a difference in the experiences that people have. In fact, that's really kind of the way that I think about hypnosis generally, right? Is we're really offering people, how do I want to say it, an altered, a different perspective of the experiences they've been having so that they can carry them or hold them differently as they go on into the future. At least that's a good sense of how I think of the therapeutic nature of it. And isn't it nice to know, as Karen will tell you, that each of us can use some of the skills and tools that we have in our own life for our own experiences. So when the computer isn't plugged in time, and you know that there are people waiting for you to log on, and when when the bourguignon is not quite done, as quickly as you hope that it would be, et cetera, it's nice to know that you can stop for 15 or 20 minutes and take some time out to do a little intervention with you really can't do it that way, can you? It'd be great if we had a self-hypnosis technique that worked that fast, right? And I want to teach you something about self-hypnosis tonight. In fact, that's why I'm saying it. And I've got a couple of protocols that I use for self-hypnosis. And some of you are familiar with quantum focusing. If you're not, we'll have to do a feature on that sometime in the future. So it's a lovely technique, and it takes about 2 minutes to do. But the one that I'm going to share with you is one that you can not only use for yourself, but that you can share with your clients as well. And I hope that you will. I used to make it a regular practice whenever I saw a new client to teach them a self-hypnosis technique. And, and back in the day, my deal was that I always did free initial meetings with anybody that had any interest in, learning about hypnosis, doing sessions, whatever it is. It's like, come on in, we'll talk to you, we'll do a little assessment, and I'll show you a self-hypnosis technique. And the one that I shared with them then is what I'm going to share with you in just a minute here. I'm looking around frantically because it occurs to me that there's a lovely diagram that I'd like to be able to show you, and I think I just might be able to find a way to manage that in a minute. But
I have it if you want me to bring it up.
oh, that's great. So at
I'll look for it. You do your thing and I'll look for it. Give me screen share. I can share. So
that would be beautiful. Yeah. I need to give you permission to share?
no, I've got it. But you do your thing and I'll find it and
Oh, great.
up when I can.
So this is the one that I used forever. The one that I'm going to share with you now. It's based on something that Betty Erickson did, and Betty Erickson, for those of you who don't know, is Mrs. Milton Erickson. She's the one that drove the car. When they were bank robbing and things, and they needed a quick getaway because it took Milton a little longer than the rest. But Betty was the one. Whenever anybody asked Milton Erickson about self-hypnosis, Milton said, "Oh, you have to talk to Betty about that. That's something that Betty's very good at." Now, on the other hand, Milton himself used self-hypnosis regularly. And some of you, if you're familiar enough with his history, know that with post-polio syndrome, he was in a great deal of pain, in his later life, and he used self-hypnosis to manage his pain. And one of the ways that he did it involved Betty, by the way. So this is the Betty Erickson technique too. What he would do is he would go in and he would lie on the bed. And Betty would come in with an Afghan that she had knitted and laid this Afghan over Erickson. This is just the loveliest story to me because it really sort of shows Milton, the man, and Milton, the man with a wife. She laid this Afghan over him, and Milton would essentially do a kind of a meditation in which he would imagine the discomfort in his body rising up into that coverlet, that Afghan that Betty had placed over him. And then Betty would come in after about 15 minutes or so, and she would take the Afghan, but that wasn't the end of the ritual. She would go out into the backyard where Milton could see her through the window from lying there on the bed and shake the Afghan out. What a lovely thing. I always appreciate the rituals that people develop as a way to essentially run their neurology through the appropriate sequence. I mean, it did all the right stuff and did it in a really, interesting and sweet, I would say, way. It's one of my favorite stories about Milton. So I'm going to tell you about the Betty Erickson technique, and I'm going to tell it to you by telling you a story about a conversation that Milton and Betty had that never actually took place. And I want to make sure that I'm really clear about it. It never actually took place, but if they had discussed it, it might have gone something like this. It's my understanding that Dr. Erickson was a little bit intrigued in the 70s by some of the things that Bandler and Grinder were doing. He was also off-put by some of the things that Bandler and Grinder were doing, and they had an interesting relationship, the NLP folks and Milton Erickson. But one of the things that he was interested in is NLP certainly didn't invent, but had brought some attention to this notion of representational systems and the fact that some thinking is done in pictures and some of it's done in sounds and some of it's done kinesthetically and feelings and states back and forth like that. And Milton had the idea that an altered state of consciousness, which is what he thought hypnosis was, that an altered state of consciousness was simply meant that you were using your consciousness in a way that was not its normal routine way. In other words, if you somehow or another for a moment could just start running your brain a little bit differently, then by definition, it would be altered. It's a really simple distinction. And if it was particularly unusual, the change that you made, of course, it would be experienced probably as rather profound. So imagine, I know some people really have the idea that they're not visual or that they're not auditory or they're not kinesthetic or they're not one of those things. I think more accurately, the fact is that we each have 5 senses, and what's happened is through our lifetime, some of them have atrophied a little bit and some of them have been more used and more developed and might be preferred, but we've got access to all of them. So as personal growth workers, one of the things I might encourage you to do is that if you find one of your representational systems is weak, to spend some time working on that one. Make it stronger rather than deciding, well, I don't do that because I'm not a visualizer, or because I'm not a kino, or I'm not something like that. Now, John Grinder actually said if there was one thing from NLP that he could take back, it would be the fact that they had allowed people to come to the conclusion that some people were this and some people were this and some people were that. But all of that said, it still is true, isn't it, that we do tend to have preferences. So some of us, when we do a meditation, we might like to sit down and to visualize something beautiful and sort of slip off into the imagery. whereas others of us might be more intrigued by a particular sound or a mantra that repeats, and listening to the qualities of the sound and becoming absorbed, in that. Everybody's got their own way. But imagine this: if you're somebody who's particularly good with sound, but you never really seem to see images in your mind, it just doesn't happen to you naturally, and you've gone to a hypnotist and he was doing an induction that really relied on that deep kind of resonant hypnotist voice, and you're getting sleepy and tired, and whatever, and and you were wrapped up in the sound, and all of a sudden in the middle of it, you saw an image of something that was bright and and captured your attention. You would say to yourself, would you not, whoa, this is an altered state of consciousness. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that I'm suggesting. In fact, what we often see and can find to be very useful is this notion of walking somebody from one representational system into another. So that, for instance, somebody who's highly visual, you can imagine that you're sitting on the shore and you're looking out over the beautiful water. You watch the waves break on the shore. You see the brown sand stretching off to the right of you and off to the left of you. So people off in the distance, clouds in the sky. And as you watch the waves break on the shore, you feel a rush of air coming off the surface of the water. Now, once you've introduced that one visual element, now you can go back to seeing something else and seeing something else and seeing something else, and feel this and feel this. And then see something and see something, and then feel something and feel something and feel something, and gradually use less imagery and more kinesthetic stimulation or kinesthetic suggestions. And so it moves people into a different quality of experience than the one that they normally have. So it's really sort of built into this technique that I'm going to show you, and I don't want to take a whole lot of more time with it. So Karen, do you have the graphic available?
I do.
That's lovely. No, it's kind of interesting. Okay, good. Yeah, good. That works perfectly. Yeah. Well, okay. That's
Not exactly the one you wanted.
it's all right. It will do better than me trying to describe it in any other way. So just leave it just like that is. And what you'll see, of course, is a bunch of V's, A's, and K's, and they stand for visual and auditory and kinesthetic. And you'll see an interesting sequence of lines. Two of them, the X kind of that goes across the center, I like to think of them as being like an hourglass. Okay, and the one that's just a straight line across the middle, if there were any labels on it, the area above that would be external experience, and the area below that would be internal experience. And the idea is, as you go into hypnosis, you move away from an externally oriented world to less and less involvement with those things that are outside and around you, and greater involvement with the things that are going on within you. So here's the way that this works. To begin the process, many of us were taught something in hypnosis school, I'm afraid, that just doesn't make any sense at all if you really consider it. And it was, to do self-hypnosis, you should go into a trance and then start giving yourself suggestions. And the paradox there, of course, is when you're giving yourself suggestions, you've had to reactivate your conscious mind. And all of the work that you did with doing that induction really is kind of wasted. So it makes a little sense to remember one thing, and that is your unconscious mind isn't waiting for you to go into hypnosis so that you can talk to it. Your unconscious mind is listening. It's listening right now, and you don't have to be into a trance for it to hear you. The reason for hypnosis, by the way, doesn't have anything to do with the unconscious mind. It has something to do with the conscious mind and occupying it or getting it out of the way or moving it into a condition where it will be more willing to allow the suggestions that you're offered to get through to the unconscious mind. But that's that old stuff that you know about the critical faculty, right? So here's the deal. Rather than waiting to give yourself suggestions until you're in trance, what you want to do is to do that at the beginning. And there's three parts of the opening statement that I would make. If I were going to go into self-hypnosis right now, I would find a comfortable position in my chair. And you might do this just a little bit, but please don't drift away too far because we want to be sure to get you back here. But find a comfortable position in my chair and make a three-part statement that involves the length of time I'm going to be in hypnosis, the purpose that I'm going into hypnosis, and the exit state that I want when I come out of trance. So many of us have the idea, when you finish hypnosis, what you want to do is you want to be wide awake, alert, and refreshed. That's kind of interesting. But, if you're doing self-hypnosis half an hour before bedtime, wouldn't mellow and relaxed be a better idea? So we're not talking about sending somebody driving home from our office now, so you can come out of trance however you like. You can even use trance just to change your state. If you have to go to a company dinner that you really don't want to go to, and it's important for you to be there, you're required to be there, you could simply go into self-hypnosis and say, I'm going to self-hypnosis for a few minutes, and when I come out, I want to be social and gregarious. And do the process, and when you come out, be social and gregarious. Just use it as a state change mechanism. So the statement is this: 3 parts, how long you're going into hypnosis. So it might begin, I'm going into self-hypnosis for 10 minutes. And for the purpose of, and here's the deal, we want to just turn the purpose over to the unconscious mind. We want to say, for the purpose of allowing the unconscious mind to assist me at being more confident in public speaking, for example, if that's the thing that you're working on. So you're not going to tell it how to do it. You're not going to give it a whole lot of instructions. You're just going to say, here's the topic, unconscious mind. While I'm in trance for my 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is, I want you to address that issue. And when the time is up, when I'm completed with the process, I'd like to emerge from hypnosis feeling, well, in this case, I'm going to say wide awake, alert, and refreshed, but whatever it is that you want. And then you begin. And here's how the process works. And if you look at this diagram now, it'll make a little more sense to you, I hope. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here having made my statement, and I'm just going to look out in front of me in the room and notice some small thing that catches my eyes. Not a big thing like the sofa on the other side of the room, but maybe one of the buttons on a cushion on that sofa or something more specific than that. So I'm looking across the room and I see a spot of white light reflecting back at me. Now, by the way, my intention is to go into self-hypnosis, remember, and there's no reason, if you're resisting yourself when you're going into self-hypnosis, that's just silly. So I'm just going to take a breath and relax a little bit, and I'm going to let my attention find something else on the other side of the room. Now I'm aware that I see a red pen on the desk opposite me. And I'm going to take another breath. By the way, notice this is mindfulness in action, is it not? And I notice something else that I see, and it's the logo on my camera. So what I've just done is I've seen and acknowledged 3 things. Those are the 3 V's at the top of the diagram. Visual, see this, and see this. Now I'm going to stop looking, and I know you probably can't tell unless you really can see focus and defocus, but I'm actually defocusing my eyes. I'm doing my best Helen Keller bit here. And I'm moving my attention to my ears, and I'm going to listen. And I hear the sound of the air conditioner running in the distance. I hear some traffic outside on the street. And I hear my own breath as I exhale. And now I'm going to stop listening for a moment, as much as one can, and move my attention to my kinesthetics, to the felt sense in my body. And I feel specific things, the place where my glasses touch the bridge of my nose, the ring on the finger of my left hand. And I feel the place where my back makes contact with the back of my chair. So you see, I've seen 3 things, I've heard 3 things, and I've felt 3 things. Now I'm going to do 2 of each. I'm going to see something, and then I'm going to see something else. I'm going to hear something. I'm going to hear something else. I'm going to feel something and feel something. And then I'm going to see one more thing, hear one more thing, feel one more thing, and then close my eyes. And now in this internal space, I notice that Karen has them K's, A's, and V's, which is interesting. They're inverted from the way that I typically do it. And you could do it that way, but I stay with the VAK order. So I close my eyes and I allow an image to come into my mind. Any image will do. For me, invariably, once you get a habit down, I guess it goes, I close my eyes and I see King Ludwig's castle in Bavaria. Enjoy the picture, and then I let it go. And I allow, if you can allow an image to come into your mind, you can allow a sound to come into your mind. Some people maybe have never thought of that. But now I hear the sound of a mariachi band. And then I let that go. And then I feel the warmth of the summer sun on my arms. And then I allow another image and another image, another sound, another feeling and another feeling, and then 3 of each. Just going deeper and deeper as I do more and more of these internal things. Now, if I get all the way through that, and my sense is that the 10 minutes that I've suggested at the beginning, and you have a really good internal clock, by the way. If I think that the time isn't over, you can go ahead and do 4 of each. You can just continue to deepen the experience. My experience, maybe this way for you, is somewhere around 2 of each internal, the 2 images and 2 sounds. I tend to just lose consciousness. Quite frankly, the first several times I did it, that I thought that I was blown and I thought I'd fallen asleep. But at exactly the length of time that I had prescribed at the beginning, my eyes would pop open and I'd be back in the room, criticizing myself for having fallen asleep until I realized that it matched the clock perfectly. So for me, that's the way that it works. I just go out. It may work differently for you. It may work the same for you. One other thing that I'd like to tell you about this just real quickly, and then we can get on with the rest of the show, is that when you're doing this, the beauty of this, I used to try to teach people self-hypnosis when I lived on the corner of Haight and Ashbury in San Francisco, rather famous corner, a little too late for the summer of love, but the Hare Krishna still danced in circles underneath my window every Saturday morning. You know, and the Gray Line tour brought little old ladies by to look out the window at the hippies. And there was a lot of noise in the neighborhood, and people said, I can't meditate here. I can't get quiet here. I can't do self-hypnosis here. Wouldn't it be nice if a part of the process involved acknowledging and allowing the images and sounds and feelings that normally would be distractions? So if you're in the middle of it, whether you're internal or external or whatever you are, and somebody comes by, barreling by your house with a loud, hot rod or something, I think it's perfectly all right to just say to yourself, and now I hear the sound of that hot rod going by, and just continue on with the technique. So I think it's magnificent. And what you simply have to do is to trust that your unconscious mind, while you're doing all these V's, A's, and K's and having this lovely little ride, is addressing itself to the issue that you proposed to it in the first place. Not needing a whole lot of suggestions with you, but just needing to be told what to concentrate on, what to focus on, and what to go after. So there we are. The Betty Erickson self-hypnosis technique, taught in a flash. I don't think I've ever done that quite so quickly, but I think we got in all of the necessary pieces. So thanks for listening, and I'm really happy to share that with you. And if you use it and you get some good results out of it, let me know what it's doing for you, because I just keep teaching it with people, and folks tend to love it. It even seems a little like logical and almost scientifically valid, because it uses words like kinesthetic, and that convinces people, who need some sort of convincing. So there you go, Betty Erickson. So now that's all I have to say about that.
What I think is very interesting about that is I learned that from Michael, and noticed that when he saw my head, I said, well, that's not exactly the way I do it. I thought we did it exactly the same way. I learned it from him. But the beauty about what we do is sometimes we take things and make it our own, and whatever works for us works for us. Yeah. As Michael said, when he gets about 2 things, he's out, right? Mm-hmm. I treat that in a slightly different way. When I get to that middle point, that's where I do my pausing, and I reverse it to come out of the hypnosis.
Right.
It's just a different way. All the ways work.
Well, and that's really the important thing. You can either do things your way, or you can do them the way I told you.
That's right. Or you can do them your way. And the operative part there for both is do it.
Exactly.
That was the operative point. Do it my way or do it your way. but the bottom line is do it. And I think that's one thing what a great segue into our featured speaker tonight, Donna Bloom, a friend of mine for a long time. And Donna is going to talk to us tonight about Ho-oponopono, one of my favorite things. I love the word. I like saying the word. And I love the whole concept of Ho-oponopono. And I don't know if Donna's going to talk to us about it tonight in the way I've learned it or used it, or if she's going to teach me something different about it. But what I'm so excited about is she's going to talk to us about it, and we get to learn something about it and play with it. I think that's really exciting. Let me tell you a little bit about Donna. Donna of Wise Mind Hypnosis. She's a board certified hypnotist, certified life coach, and BWRT registered advanced practitioner. I don't remember what those letters stand for, but I'm sure she'll tell us if you'd like to know. Donna's unique approach helps clients experience a profound sense of inner calm. She creatively leads them to follow her inner guidance system to achieve goals and dreams. She's good. She teaches meditation classes and gives seminars on law of attraction and modern Ho-oponopono. So that's really what I'm excited about tonight. Working with Donna is a journey of self-discovery. Her practice is based on Long Island, New York. I tried my best to do it even with the Long Island accent, and you've heard enough from me. I can't wait to hear from Donna. Donna, please welcome. Thank you so much for being with us. And tell us a little bit about how you got into this business, would you please?
Yes, that's an awesome question. So thank you for having me, Michael and Karen. Um, I learned Ho'oponopono back in 2014. I became certified back from the NGH in 2013. And a friend of mine who is a therapist invited me to a Friday evening 3-hour seminar. My friend kind of dragged me there. She goes, I think you're going to like my friend Mary. So I came. It was an awesome 3 hours. She went over the story of modern Ho'oponopono. I left the evening, loving the evening. I loved the people. And I honestly thought that Ho'oponopono was completely hokey and corny because I'm a hypnotist, I'm a meditation instructor at the time, and I was like, this is just completely hokey. That was on a Friday night. So over the weekend, and I'm going to go over the 4 healing phrases in the background story. The 4 healing phrases were kind of like an earworm, and they were kind of catchy. And it's funny, I was going through the book, and I found my original workbook, and I had this in my car. And I found myself over that weekend doing the exercises that Mary instructed us to do. We were out Saturday night with some friends, and apparently I spent the whole evening talking about it. We got in the car to come home, and my husband's like, well, for someone who thought it was stupid, why did you spend the whole evening talking about it? I did not. And he said, my husband's like, you did. So that was over the weekend. Tuesday, my husband and I went on vacation to Sedona. I didn't take any of the materials of Ho-oponopono with me, but I was practicing it because it was this earworm in my head. And at that time, my practice was in my basement, and I worked in my basement for 21 years in another job. And all I wanted was to go full-time, quit that gig, and do this work full-time. Well, by January, I quit my full-time job. I had office space, and I was independent and making a lot of money doing hypnosis. And it was because of Ho-oponopono. And it was the way I was taught, and I was using it for myself for years. I was teaching classes on it to like end users. And then as I was doing it more and more, I took more classes, I did more reading on it, and I made it my own. Kind of the way, between Michael and, Karen saying that I made this my own. And I started introducing it to clients, and the success rate was amazing. So what I do, how I work with my hypnosis clients, if they are spiritual, meaning they believe in creator, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, I will integrate this in as a self-hypnosis technique and a way to heal issues. And it works amazing. So I've taken the foundation and I've made it my own.
The way you talk about it, Donna, is so expansive. I kind of learned it in a quick introduction to it, right? I kind of learned it as a forgiveness technique. And I've used it as a forgiveness technique, but you're talking about it as a development technique. Is all sorts of other things involved in that too.
There's so much. It is, Ho'oponopono, it's a Hawaiian healing technique. It's a prayer. It's a system of forgiveness, appreciation, repentance, and most important, love. That's really what it is. And it's so beautiful. So just kind of a quick show of hands. How many people have heard of Ho'oponopono? Good. So most of you, okay. So I wonder if it's okay. Do you want me to go over the quick background story of this?
Yes.
Yes, please.
I'll just take a few moments. Now, I'm going to put in the chat box. I have a handout for this, and all you need to do is click on the link, fill out your name, address, and your email, and you'll get it immediately. It'll pop up on the screen. So let me do that. Okay, so if you just click there, just go to that website, go to the link. It's wisemindhypnosis.com/handouts. You'll fill it out. You'll get it right then and there. It's very easy. Okay, so you can do that in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to give the 5-minute overview, and this is what I do with clients, and I'll tell you how. Let me just give you the overview. So Ho'oponopono is an ancient Hawaiian healing technique that technically families would use for conflict resolution. So if you lived in Hawaii back in the day and there was some fighting going on within the families, the family might be inspired to hire a Ho'opono kahuna, like the big kahuna, to come in to the family unit to heal the situation. And many times this kahuna was a grandparent. So again, this was for conflict resolution within families. So if you could be sequestered, the family could be sequestered for days and days. No worries if you needed to go to school or to work, you were sequestered in the home. So as time went on, Morna Simeona came on board, and she passed away in 1992, and I believe she's considered a living legend in Hawaii. She knew how beautiful Ho'opono is and was, but it needed to be modernized for the way that people live today. Could you imagine whole family units and members being sequestered in a home with a kahuna for 5 days, right? Well, forgetting COVID when we were all sequestered, but it wasn't a very practical way to do that. So Morna took it upon herself to modernize the practice. Now, all religions and societies have secret wisdom. The Mayans have their calendar. There's all, the Toltecs have the Toltec wisdom. There's just so much out there. So the Hawaiians have Huna and they have Ho'oponopono. So the word Ho'opono, ho, is like the action. It's the verb. It's to do, to create. And pono means to balance a situation. And when you put it together, Ho'oponopono means to heal and to balance a situation. Okay, so the next player in my story, and you probably all know him, is Dr. Hugh Lin. And Dr. Hugh Lin is I think he's a psychologist, he's a doctor. And at the time of the story, his daughter was about 9 years old, maybe she was 11, but she's little. And the little girl has leprosy of all things. And leprosy is a skin condition. And being a doctor, he goes within the medical community. And no one is able to help this poor little girl. So out of desperation, he goes to Morna. And within 24 hours, her face is healed. He thinks this is just a beautiful thing. And he starts learning Ho'oponopono with Morna, studies it. And he begins to incorporate this into his psychiatry practice. And over time, Dr. Hugh Lin gets the reputation of being the unusual therapist. So as time goes on, fast forward on the mainland of Hawaii, I believe it's the Hawaii State Hospital, there's a ward of criminally insane patients. And these people just did awful things. And the administrators of the hospital needed a psychologist to take care of the patients, but it was a revolving door. The psychologist would come in, they'd leave because it was just a god awful place to work. Absenteeism was high. They interviewed Dr. Hulin. He agrees to the job under 4 conditions. The first 3 conditions are, we can understand as people. The 4th one was, you got to be kidding me. The first condition was, you pay me my salary. The second condition was, I need a private office. The third condition was, I can only work about 20 hours per week. And the 4th condition was, I never see the patients. Now, everyone knew who Dr. Hulin was. I kind of use the analogy of the show Charlie's Angels, where we didn't quite know who Charlie was. But people knew who Dr. Hulin was. He walked the floors. People knew him. And gradually over time, I believe he was there about 18 months, things got better in the hospital. These patients slowly started getting their privileges back. Absenteeism got better. Everything got better when Dr. Hulin was around. Matter of fact, things got so much better that he was hired to work in other divisions in the hospital, and mortality rates went down in the operating room. So over time, about 90% of the patients were healed. And there's a reputation that it was 100%, but I personally didn't believe it. And according to the book that I'm going to share the book with you in a little while, I think it's about 90% of the ward was healed and 10% needed to be outsourced to other facilities. So that is basically the background story. So fast forward. At a hypnosis convention near you, I found this piece of the puzzle out a couple of years ago. I'm at the NGH convention, and I'm loving Ho-oponopono. I'm teaching it to my clients, and I at this point was giving a workshop about law of attraction. So I approached Elsom, what's his last name? Eldridge, I thought so. I approached him and said, hey, I'd like to, give a class on Ho-oponopono. And I said, Dr. Joe Vitale, found out about this, and he's a hypnotist. And Elsom tells me, he goes, Donna, do you know how Joe Vitale, because Joe Vitale is responsible for he wrote the books, and he's responsible for educating the mainland of the United States. He goes, he was here at the convention and learned about it. So that was pretty interesting that Elson told me that. And, I know how he learned it. So Joe Vitale, I think this was back in the 1980s. I was still in in college. And he finds out this amazing story that's going on in Hawaii. And he takes it upon himself to contact Morna and Dr. Hulin and fly down to Hawaii. Now, as hypnotists, we work in the subconscious part of the mind. We're working on programs that live in our subconscious, whether it's smoking, anxiety, confidence, stress, the list goes on. There's 2 main tenets with Ho-opono premises.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Donna.
Yes.
But before we get into that, I'm wondering, Courtney has had her hand up for quite some
time.
time.
I'm so sorry.
For her to ask a question.
I'm like looking, where is Courtney?
It depends on what your gallery.
I can't. I see you, and no wonder I didn't see the hand up. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
And it could be that Courtney hit that by mistake. Maybe she's not on with us.
Okay. I didn't have a question. It's just when you were saying, can you see hands, if anybody has heard of
Oh,
thank you, Courtney. We know that you've heard of this. and we'll lower your hand. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I really wanted you to talk about this connection with Joe Vitale and Hawaii, because I have heard some people say, if you're not Hawaiian, you can't practice Ho-oponopono.
Okay, so I'll get to that. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So there's 2 main premises with Ho-oponopono. It's not the person, it's the program. Those programs live in the subconscious part of the mind. That's number 1. Number 2, it is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And Ho-oponopono is about taking complete responsibility for everything in our life, the wanted and the unwanted. So I'm guessing, I don't know this for a fact, that when Joe heard that it's working with programs in the subconscious part of the mind, to me, it was a compliment and a match with Ho-oponopono and hypnosis. So to go back to Karen's question, yes, I have heard that the Hawaiians do not like this modern version out there at all. They don't like it to be taught. And I have not been trained. I have not been trained by any Hawaiians. I am not a kahuna. I have not been trained that way. I have taken the information that I have learned and just used it in hypnosis because it's too good not to share, because it's about love, it is gratitude, it is repentance and forgiveness. And it feels right. And how can that be wrong to share? So I am sharing the modern version, how it was given to me, how I've taken this and downloaded it from, I have a direct connection with spirit and with God and all of this stuff, I love Melissa Tears, she's like, all this stuff is made up, right? So I'm taking the basics of what I've learned, the 4 healing phrases, and just using it as a self-hypnosis mantra and a way to cleanse and clear programs. So I've never, ever, I know Billy's, I don't know what, I can't see you now. I don't make any bones about being a kahuna, but I've taken this and I've had beautiful, beautiful success with it, using it in hypnosis the way that it's been downloaded to me. And to me, it's about the wise mind. So I share my information. I love, sourcing. I took an online class with Dr. Hewlin and Joe Vitale. The information that I got is in Joe Vitale's book At Zero. It's the quest for miracles through Ho-oponopono. And it's loving and it's beautiful because again, it's about love and gratitude, repentance and forgiveness. So if that can't be shared,
But
I don't know. It doesn't seem right not to.
If I can just get a word in, I've got to tell you, I was from the beginning of your story, Donna, you had my attention because as I heard the story, it started out as a hypnotherapist, by the way, who had been working in her basement for a long time and was heading off to Sedona, ran into something that she thought was a little hokey. And I find that hysterically amusing. Because of course, as you know, right, it comes from traditions of Native people and stuff like that. I perfectly agree with you. There are a lot of folks who have issues about cross-cultural stuff like this, and I'm like, I'm not this. This really shouldn't be an issue. There is, by the way, and I'm afraid I'm forgetting the guy's name. And Max, Max Freedom Long was a source, and if you don't know his name, you might want to look him up.
I'm going to.
Back in the 30s, he published a couple of books for white people about Kahuna wisdom, and there's been all kinds of arguments about the accuracy of what's in his books and what wasn't in his books. But it's a much older source, and it's kind of the first inkling of how this material got off of the island of Hawaii in the first place. So forgive me for adding to this. I assumed it was somebody you knew about. But
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna want to. So Michael, thanks. So I'm in Sedona. By the way, my husband is an accountant. Okay, so he's a numbers guy. Very, very kind of, he's just an accountant. That's all I can say. A Jewish accountant. So we're in Sedona. I don't have any of my stuff, but he starts to notice a change within inside of me, and he goes to me, Donna, what are you doing? And I'm like, the Ho-oponopono. Now, so we're in Sedona, and my dream was to quit my day gig. I was in industrial sales, to quit that job and to go full time. I was, part-time in my basement. So I'm downstairs wanting to get out. My dream was again to quit the job, and I'm in Sedona and the phone is ringing and ringing. He's like, what's going on? He goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm Ho-oponoponoing. He goes, you doing what? And I go, that hokey thing that you yelled at me on the weekend for? I said, I've been repeating it in my head constantly with a dream of going full time. And I booked on vacation 6 new clients to come into my office to see them. And just all of a sudden, my marriage got better. I got happier. We started having fun, and I taught it in Sedona to my husband, who's the accountant. And guess what my husband does every single day? He
Huh.
ho'oponoponos. He has his ritual. He walks around his office and he does laps, and and he has his own way. And just a couple of months ago, he had a meeting in the diner with like a networking group, and he taught ho'oponopono to accountants. And they loved it. I gave him my handouts. I put his logo on there, and I prepped him, and he taught this to people. He was so proud of himself.
What I can't argue with is success,
Yeah.
right? You know, Michael did the Betty Erickson one way.
Yeah.
I transposed it somehow, and it works fine. And the way I teach it, it works fine for the people I teach it to,
Exactly.
etc. Right? As we started out tonight, isn't it nice to know that there are a variety of ways of getting to a solution?
Yes. Yes.
And I'm looking forward to you sharing the earworm with us and all of these things that you really want to share and teach us about this modern Ho-oponopono. And Billy, if you've got questions about this, I would love for you to join in the conversation too, because I was innocent when I asked, hey, I learned it. This is so cool. And somebody said, oh, that's only for Hawaiian. It's a Hawaiian spiritual thing. Trust me, I'm a little skittish about that kind of thing. I once was in Hawaii and picked up some lovely black lava that I brought home as a souvenir, and I got home to Chicago. I know Billy just went crazy. Hold on, time out, Billy, wait a minute. I didn't know about it. So I had these 5 lava rocks, and someone said, oh my God, you can't do that. It's bad luck and your whole family will deteriorate and die and all of that. I packaged those suckers up and sent them to the postmaster in Kauai. And I said, I am so sorry. I had no idea. Here are your rocks back. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. And that's probably Ho-oponopono right there.
It could be. And I met a kahuna at the NGH, and he like scared the bejesus out of me, but I had to take it to my spirit to realize that thanks, Billy. I don't see how anyone would be angry about sharing love and gratitude, repentance, and forgiveness. So I'm doing what I'm guided to do.
I love it. And thank you for sharing it. And like I said, how do we argue with success?
Exactly. So again, the 2 main tenets, it's not the person, it's the program. And it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. And Ho'oponopono is about taking complete responsibility for everything in our life, the good, the bad, the wanted, and the unwanted. So I was teaching this to my group that comes to me every week, and this woman she was very upset. A friend of mine, her husband and son were fighting about something, had nothing to do with her, and so since it was upsetting her, the program is inside of her. So I told her to repeat the phrases, and she came back the next week and she goes, I loved being part of the solution. As her energy shifted, they shifted. So I'm going to get into what the 4 healing phrases are. And this is right on the handout. It's I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Now this order can be you can say the phrases in any order. Dr. Hewlin taught it this way. It's logical for me. I'm a math person, so this is the way I teach it to my clients. So when we say I love you, I'm going to break down the individual parts of why this is like the closest thing to a magic pill that there is. When we say I love you, it's like plugging into the universe. Now, when I do this for my clients, I have a lamp, a very basic lamp, and I say, hey, you see this plug? It's plugged in. What if I unplug it and I turn that little switch? Is it going to work? And they're like, well, no, it's got to be plugged into its source. That's with us. We have to be literally plugged into its source. And all the major religions, Judaism, Christianity, Hindu, whatever, we all believe that God is love. And I use the term when I'm comfortable with a client. Otherwise, I will use, universe, source, whatever they want. When we're plugged in, we can all agree that it's love. So it's like that plug in to God. Hey, God, hey, universe, it's me. It's that daily reminder to connect that we're not alone. So that's I love you. So it says, I'm returning to my source of divinity, wiping my inner mind clean. That's I love you. When we say I am sorry, and again, we're always addressing the 4 healing phrases to God, to the universe. It's never about him or her or the situation or COVID. It is always, we're addressing this always. Can I say God? I mean, am I the universe? I hope I'm not offending anyone. It's always to God. I love you, plugging in. I am sorry. Sometimes I'm sorry. People will say, well, I didn't do it. No. It's an acknowledgement that we're running a program. The smoker's running a smoking program. The public speaking person's running a lack of confidence program. So I'm sorry for whatever subconscious or unconscious program is inside of me that created this event. So if I'm nervous to speak or I'm smoking because I'm stressed, I am running a program. So I soften it by saying it's an acknowledgement we are running a program. It's inside here, somewhere between my 2 ears. So I'm sorry for whatever program is inside of me. The next phrase is, please forgive me. Please forgive me for being unaware of my own unconscious thoughts. Now, I see a lot of anxious clients, just my thing. And I call it the brain's going down the dirty, nasty road. And I'm a New Yorker and it's funny, right? It's like, there goes the brain going down the dirty, nasty road. And Ho-oponopono is a giant pattern interrupt. It stops it from going down. It's like, no way. This is right from Melissa Tears. We want to stop it from going down that. We want to send it home. So we could tap, we could ball toss, we could do lots of things, slap out of it, snap out of it, throw cold water, but we could Ho-oponopono too. It's a beautiful pattern interrupt. So please forgive me for being unaware that I'm negatively creating. I'm going down, that I'm letting myself worry and overthink. That's what that's for. And finally, this brings me to thank you. It's like kind of like saying thanks in advance, God. Thank you for releasing this program from my being and making room for divine inspiration. A different way to look at the situation. It puts us in a trusting state. So when we say thank you, it's like, there's a proverb, offer it up to God. It's like, I don't know how to handle this problem, but you do. And to me, it's a great way to enhance intuition. It's a great way to foster listening to what my practice name is Wise Mind Hypnosis. It's the higher mind, whatever you want to call it. It fosters that trust of listening, that we can know what's good for us, that we can, the weight loss client can maybe go and buy healthy, nutritious foods that honor their body, that they can listen to what is it their body craves, what healthy nutrients does the body want. So thank you. It's like, hey, I don't know how to handle this problem, but you do. And the stories that I've heard from my clients and even in my own life are absolutely remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. And I just love it as a compliment in my hypnosis practice. I use it for myself. I use it every single morning. And what does it do? Client comes in and we think, okay, that we need to do X today. We're going to do a little of this work. We're going to do a little of that work. Client comes in and says, this thing happened. I can flow. I can modulate and I can hold a space because I'm getting out of my own way. A lot of times I will have intuition about the client before they walk in my door. I will Ho-opono to keep me in a good space. So when I first learned this, it was using it on me to keep myself clear and to know what steps to take to find, to get my practice up and running. I was using all that stuff. I was trusting the universe. I was taking inspired action steps that felt good. And it was just completely miraculous. So, questions?
Yeah, I want to find out. So how could we possibly be condemned to hell for just sharing that information? Right? I mean, how can we possibly be cast out just for sharing that loving piece of information? And okay, Billy, I'd love you free to answer that. Hold on. And it's how is it different for Americans who are not looking at it spiritually like that? How is it, or mainlanders, how is it different than affirmations? I mean, I'm not a big fan of affirmations, but if one has an affirmation that really speaks to them, or they're saying something to themselves, isn't that self-hypnosis? And law of attraction? I'm asking you, law of attraction goddess.
Oh, okay. I thought you were asking Billy.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, and I do want Billy to answer, but I was actually asking the law of attraction goddess about, isn't this affirmations? Isn't this self-affirmations and self-hypnosis?
Yeah.
Pointing yourself towards solutions and what you want rather than looking for what you don't want?
To me, it's a self-hypnosis. It's a self-hypnosis way to do that and to get into trance. And it's all about love and gratitude, repentance and forgiveness.
Now, my BS is, if you guys don't know, what I mean by my BS is my belief system. My BS is that Donna will absolve me if anything happens. So now I'm going to ask Billy to share with me. Am I going to go to hell if I share this stuff with somebody? You got to unmute yourself. Oh, and you can't disappear on me.
I went on mute and I turned my camera off.
Okay.
So I've established my credibility already.
That's right.
I know Dennis here. He knows I served in the Navy, but the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. My father was in the Navy, and I actually started high school in Hawaii. I won't say that's like 5 decades ago. And I have to commend Michael. You're the first haole that I've met here in the mainland that can say humu humu nuku nuku apuea. You know what that what that name means?
Well, I understand it's a fish, but I don't know anything beyond that.
It's in Hawaiian. It means fish with a nose that roots like a pig. So that's what the whole phrase means. It's something like a parrotfish. It's a parrotfish family, but it's unique to the Hawaiian Islands. So they actually chew up the surface of the reef, and their waste product coming out the other end is the beautiful white sand that makes up the beaches. So that's a very important fish for them. But to answer Karen's question, and I gets back to Max Freedom Long. I first heard about some of this stuff 50 years ago when I was there in high school, but I was more interested in scuba diving and I think dating at the time. But about probably now it's a little over 3 decades ago, I went back there in the Navy for a while and actually ran across someone that was acquainted. They had met or knew Max Freedom Long. And to answer Karen's question in specific, the kahunas, the priests, they're more like I would say a shaman, really, because in the Polynesian culture, we would look at them as more in, if you study those practices, as shamanistic, but how they practiced was a trade secret. They didn't share. And Max Freedom Long was trying to find out what this practice was. And he spent so much time with them, he was realizing they were talking about something that was secret and using specific words in English. And he created in English the equivalent framework. Yeah. So his books that Michael apparently has read, and I know I looked at them now going on 3 decades ago. It was very clear that he was doing the archaeology and constructing the lexicon in his vernacular. Yeah. And I think now one of the kahunas has broken the tradition. Serge Kahili King, I think, is teaching. Haoli is a foreigner in Hawaiian. He's teaching some of us mainlanders and anybody else who pay him what some of those secret terms are. But that was the big thing. It was trade secret. They kept it quiet. And Max Freedom Long's books are very interesting, to say the least.
They are. If I could just, pardon me, but if I could just add, what Billy's talking about too is Max described like breathing exercises and things that the kahunas would do to build up their psychic or spiritual energy, which, so it really was kind of a religious ritual, kind of like stealing the secrets of the Masons and selling them to the Rosicrucians and, or something. And I think that's what it was, more than certainly not the thing that Donna is sharing with us now.
And I made it a little facetious by saying I'm going to go to hell if I practice this. What I really wanted to know is I don't want to step on anyone's BS, their belief system. I don't want to step on that.
Karen, they'll throw you in the volcano.
Okay. All right. Well, that may be exactly the way I want to go. So I'm going to continue to do life the way I do it and see what happens. Donna, take us back to how now we use this.
Okay. So
use this.
Okay, so it honestly, number one, we have to say it with intention, with pure positive intention. So on the handouts, again, go to the website and just download it. Don't send me your email address. Go to the website, fill out it's a quick information. It'll pop right up. We have to do anything with any kind of prayer with pure positive intention. So we're saying, I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. Anytime we become aware that we get triggered, we are running a program. So it connects us in, it reminds us, I love you. Hey God, it's me. Please forgive me. I'm running this program. I'm sorry for whatever unconscious program is in between these two ears. And thank you, because I know you're going to give me a better way. I know you're going to give me a better way to handle the situation and to open things up. So the way I use it in my daily life is I do it on the way to work. I just say, I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me and thank you, because it sets me up as a clear channel. The days that I don't do that, I don't have a good day. The days that I do that, I'm so in tune with my clients and it flows. And I know that I'm always protected. Always. I was driving once to work and I'm saying that, and all of a sudden I got an intuition, left lane right now. And it was a direct order. It was a command. They're like, left now. And I'm like, and this is like, you're not gonna question us, Donna, get in the left lane. And as soon as I did that, if I didn't do that, that truck would have batted me like a baseball bat. And I'm shaking. And then I'm hearing, just say thank you. Just say thank you, because I still had to get off the parkway to work. And I'm like freaking out, and Spirit's with me saying, just say thank you. And I repeated it over and over again until I got to work. Because I was repeating Ho-oponopono, my intuition was so plugged in that I know that it personally saved my life at that day. It's given me words of wisdom, how to be in my marriage. It's giving me, it's taken, I love the law of attraction. It takes that and it puts it on steroids. Anytime that I know that I am running a program where I'm feeling off, I recite the 4 healing phrases. And I can do it reciting it like as clear as day now with pure positive intention. And I've also taught myself to go into hypnosis. I don't care how you want to do that, and use the 4 healing phrases to heal an issue. And that's when I started doing it for myself. I download stuff from Spirit like we all do. And I made my own protocol. And I've been working at this for years. I have my own scripts. I have my own ways of doing it. It's mine. I teach it. I love it. It's beautiful. It's, and I source everything that I do. But I've taken, I'm an age regression specialist. I'm a 5-pather. Well, guess what? This does the same thing. It gets to the root cause of things. And I have the little child release the problems.
Down to a nitty-gritty for a moment. When you teach this to a client, do you teach them the phrases and what they mean? Or do you go into the whole history of what it is and all of that?
Excellent question. So I literally, the speech that I gave to you when we opened, I always share that with them. I like to talk and I like to share where this came from. And then I literally give them this card, which is the handout that you all got, and I go over this. Now I've updated this postcard many, many times. I've added these phrases right below it, the descriptions, because clients would come back and say, I didn't like saying I'm sorry, I didn't do it. And I'm like, you weren't paying attention. Because they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, no, if you are upset about a situation in your life, you are running the program. We may not like things that are going on in society, but it means that we are part of it. So we use the 4 healing phrases. So I explain this and I say, go home, practice this for just once a day. Repeat it until you feel a shift. And a shift is until you feel and I do it with them. I put some music on. I love you. I'm sorry. And we do it responsibly. So I spend maybe 25 minutes, 30 minutes teaching them this. Okay. On the back of the card, which is on the handout, which you all have, it says there's 4 ways to do it. Number 1, we want to start reciting the phrases so it becomes natural and automatic, that you've got it on autopilot. When I went to Sedona, I was just reciting the phrases, thinking of my goal that I wanted to quit my day gig and be a full-time hypnotist. And if I have permission, I want to share my screen in a minute. So we want to commit to reciting it daily so it's on autopilot. 2, you could choose a situation, an event, an issue, or a goal that needs support. I wanted to be a hypnotist full time. It was my dream. This is not a job for me. This is a life calling. And it helped me to do that in a very loving way. So it can support goals and it can erase like limiting beliefs. 3, the whole goal of this is to uplift your personal and energetic vibration, to help uplift and enhance our vibration, because everything is energy. Everything is energy, and we want to put out good energy. So again, that's why I share this, and it should be out there. And 4, you have to be open to taking inspired action, not just, I'm going to tell them off. No, we have to do it loving energy, that we feel guided, but we have to take the steps. We've got to take the steps to do this. So the idea is to become aware of guidance, new perspectives, new ideas, positive shifts, or even a sense of relief or comfort. So that's really, how I use it. And my husband, the accountant, noticed that we were different, that I was different when I was reciting Ho-oponopono. My kids use Ho-oponopono. My family uses Ho-oponopono because it's loving. And it was like it became an earworm, and I just couldn't get this thing out of my head. And I knew that this was like being guided, to me. Because at one point, like all this stuff is made up. So it really is the perfect complement to hypnosis. And if Joe Vitale, he went to rags to riches, I have to assume, I don't know why, that he thought that it was so good because it works in the subconscious. And it's just those programs. And Dr. Hugh Lin says that we're here. All we need to do is clean, erase, and return back to port. And that's like, well, he does all day. And personally, it's like, wait a second, isn't that a program too? The fact that you got to do this all day long? Like when do we let that go? But
what's the answer for that?
I don't know. But if he's doing it all day long, I don't know. He's lovely and beautiful. And he's such a remarkable human being that he brought this loving energy into this hospital, and everything got better. Everything got better.
Do you have any clients who say it doesn't work?
I don't teach it to every client.
So how do you know? How do you decide who to teach it to?
Because I'm intuitive.
Okay, so teach me, Donna, how to be intuitive.
Okay, so first of all, on my paperwork, I'm very nosy. One of the questions on my intake form is, Are you spiritual? Like, do you believe in something other than cannot be explained? So that's, and then they're, as they're doing the consult, the onboarding process, I like spiritually based clients. Don't care which box you belong to as far as religion. It's just, if you're attracted to my work, you're going to believe in something. And I get the nudge if I'm supposed to teach it to them. And then I'll kind of seed it. I'll sort of ask, do you like doing stuff like this? And if I get a yes, then I will teach it. And I have to say, most of my clients love it. Like I there was one client that I was just like, oh, but she was like from the Bible Belt, and and I knew I was dead. I knew it. It was like, that was a mistake. But other than this one particular person, I've never had an issue. But
The lady who said she was uncomfortable saying, I'm sorry. Once you talked to her about it and she started saying that, then did she notice something fairly quickly?
Yeah, she did. Once she's like, I'm like, were you paying attention? I said, and I softened it. I said, we're not, sometimes we do things, right? We, if we're guilty about something, we told someone off or we cut someone off. Yeah, okay. But it's an acknowledgement that we're running a program. So I'm sorry for whatever program is inside of me that created this event. So it's like, I soften the whole thing. And then I'm like, it's always to God. It's, we're not perfect. So that's how I explain that. And it's right on this card. It says, I'm sorry for whatever it's inside of me. The smoker, they just want to feel good. We're going away. It's a distractor behavior. We're going away from pain and towards pleasure. We're just trying to do the best we can under the circumstances, in the moment. So that's how I do that. So I coach someone to say this with pure positive intention.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's lovely.
Thank you. Can I share my screen for a minute?
Oh, yes, please do.
I think that I'm configured now so that you can, but if you have a problem, I'll
Okay.
make
Nope,
you
I think I'm good.
Yep.
Okay, so can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so when we were in Sedona, we our last day we went in Phoenix, and we're in a spa. It was like during the weekday. It was just some random day, and I'm in this room over here waiting for a massage, and I'm just looking at it, and I'm saying to myself, wow, wouldn't it be cool to work in a place like this? This is like a week, 2 weeks after I learned it, and I'm like, I'd really, really love to work here. I had an old Windows camera, and I just took a picture of this waiting room. Why? I don't know. Fast forward, January of 2015. This is I'm going to move this thing. This becomes my very first therapy room. Now, I don't know where look at the pictures. Is that incredible?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at the lamp.
Sure.
And the pillows. By the way, this was a gift from a client. This was original watercolor. Is that uncanny?
Yeah.
I mean, it's down to the pillows in here. And by the way, the rug was right outside my office. So this was my very first Ho-oponopono story. And I'm like, boy, wouldn't I love to work in a place like this? And I got this office.
Mm-hmm.
I don't work in this place anymore, but this is my first story. And it's just uncanny, the artwork, because I was not taking a picture of this painting, and mine's much prettier. So that's my miracle story. All right, I'm going to unshare. Wait a second. Why am I like how do I unshare this?
It says stop share. There's a little red box somewhere, probably towards the top of your screen.
Ah, yes, it was hiding. Okay, perfect. So that was my very first Ho-oponopono story, how I knew there had to be something to this, because I quit. Oh, by the way, and then I quit my job in January. I sat in that chair and I called my colleague and said, it's yours. I can't do it anymore. I was full-time. And it was because of Ho-oponopono. And then I started sharing this, and I started developing my own practice of using this with clients. So I teach it to them. I coach with them. It's great for, say, a limiting belief, like, God, I'm not good enough, right? The whole I'm not good enough. And if I do something, whatever the limiting belief, I listen to all that stuff. So if they say that, oh, it's like, I just, I can't give up cigarettes, or I can't give up chocolate. I just can't stop eating the cookies in the middle of the night. It's a belief system. We Ho-oponopono on that. Those all become programs in which we can use Ho-oponopono to cleanse and to clear. And this allows the client to be an active participant in their own healing. And it's easy. It's so easy that it fits on a postcard that I give to them. And now I use it as it's a picture, it's a GIF file, and I send it to them by text. And that's all they have to do once I explain it. So anytime someone's upset, oh, my husband is mad at me, or my mother-in-law, or this or that, or upset about the news, did you Ho-oponopono on that? Is my answer for everything. And I'll do it with a client. And then I'll put the clients in hypnosis using beautiful Hawaiian metaphor, pop them in there, and then I do my custom protocol that I've developed. And I can cleanse and clear issues. And I work with the inner child. Easy. We bring in the little kid. How old is she? Oh, when she picked up this belief that she wasn't good enough. Oh, she's 8. All right. How does 8 want to release it? Oh, she wants to throw it in the water. Okay, do that. Good. Be proud of her. Hug her. Love her. Put her in her heart. Tell her what she needs to know. It's simple and it's beautiful. So that's really how I started using it. It's great to improve client sessions, and it's simple, and it's loving, and it's gentle, and it's about love, gratitude, repentance, and forgiveness. And if that shouldn't be shared in this day and age with COVID and everything that's going on, I don't know what shouldn't be.
Absolutely, it should. And thank you so much for doing so.
Thank you.
Do you also teach this in groups? Because I'm already envisioning doing a group workshop.
Yes, I'm starting a group on August 11th. I figured I'd start after Hypno Thoughts. It's going to be a 5-week interactive class. You're going to learn we're going to go more into depth about Ho-oponopono, how I use it, how it's been an adjunct to my hypnosis sessions, and how you can use it, get clients the amazing results. It's fantastic. It's a great way to extend client sessions. Clients love it. You can call, you can do it on the phone with them. They love it. And I've been working on this since 2015. So I'm so excited to share this. So if you go online and you get the handouts, you're going to get an email. It's going to give you the link to sign up for the class. I'm really giving this away. It's so inexpensive. I'm doing the intro price. It's just $425 for 5 sessions. You do 2 sessions with a client, you made your money back. You're going to love it. It's beautiful. It's gentle. Clients sleep better. They eat better. They stop habits. There's really not an issue that a client can't come that I can't work with. Anything a hypnosis client, and I love it, and I'm very proud of the year. I've literally spent years doing it, and the script that I have, it's like a slug-in script. So if the client's got this, you do da-da-da-da. Okay, pull this. Oh, they need that, use this. Oh, they need that, pull in this. And then you can make up your own. So it becomes very, very like, remember Garanimals?
Mixing and matching, yeah.
Like, yes, kind of like that. It's like you literally, clients in the chair, you start the basics, and then you kind of slug in what they need. And it just becomes easy, beautiful, and gentle. So
I just want to say real quick, we are almost out of time. So if anybody has some questions you want to ask about this or any other topics, this would be your time to do so. Before we get too far, Donna, before we open the mics for questions, I do want to share with you Billy Schilling's testimonial. I want to read to you what he wrote in the chat. In case you don't get to write it down, then you can listen to it back and use this. He says, Donna, this is fabulous. Your approach and adaptations make this really practical and efficacious for clients today.
Oh, thank you so
Did I read that well, Billy?
Thank you very much. And yes, you absolutely use it for children. Definitely. It's beautiful. I teach it to kids all the time. Nightmares, they're scared in their room, they don't want to sleep at night. You know, you use it like in the protective bubble. You know, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I use it as journal prompts, as an advanced version. I make index cards and we tap on them. I coach with it. I do it in hypnosis, and you can use it as a standalone process. It's so beautiful.
When you say you tap on it, does that mean you're also teaching EFT?
Okay, the answer is I have mixed it with EFT. I love mixed modalities, but I have a system where I teach clients to write stuff out on cards and we tap on it. And it's a whole system. It's part of the coaching modality that you're going to learn when you're working with me starting in August. So I hope you sign up and work with me.
Are there any other questions?
There is one in the box. Sim Who is asking, how many times do we recite this?
Excellent question. Okay, so the answer is you do it until you feel the proverbial shift. So you start reciting it with pure intention, and you just recite, I love you, I am sorry, please forgive me, thank you, until you feel Now, I have to admit, there's been many times where I'm upset about something. And I'm like, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And I'm saying it frenetically and upset, but I can do it enough till I get the shift where I can say it with intention. And then I do it until I feel inspired to let go. So it's not like 10 times, 12 times. You just keep on doing it until you feel it's time to let it go.
Until it gets you there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's lovely. So pardon my interruption. We are running to the end of our time. We're very close, just a couple minutes left. So I need to make sure that we get these last announcements in before we send you off. So if you'll bear with me for a moment, Donna, I just want to remind everybody, Hypno Thoughts Live, the end of this month. Looking forward to seeing everybody that we get to see in Las Vegas. What a wonderful thing. Take off the masks. Damn the blindfolds.
I bought masks specifically for Hypno Thoughts, so I'm going to wear some. Yes, I bought specific Hypno Thoughts masks a long time ago.
Cool. With a spiral, no doubt. That would be,
I do have one with my spiral logo. Yeah.
so that's coming up. Just to remind you, the replay is going to be posted by about noon tomorrow. So if you want to hear this again or take some notes, or because you were just so astounded the first time that you realized I've got to go through that one more time, and tell your friends about it. Get the recordings tomorrow. But now, you know what, Karen, I gotta tell you something.
What?
I love you. And I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But it is time for us to wrap this up. So,
Wait a minute, you forgot the fourth one.
Well, I'm going there. We got to say thank you to everybody for being here. And what we're going to do now is we are going to invite you all to open up your microphones and participate in our monthly ritual, where we can all, in one great cacophony of sound and love and affection, send Donna off with our appreciations and let her know how much how glad we are that she was here with us today. So everybody, open up your mics and
Absolutely lovely, Donna.
say goodbye to our good friend Donna. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Donna.
put the
Thank you.
hotline in the chat box just in case there was an error message.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Great.
And we can reach you. What's your email?
It's Donna@wisemindhypnosis.com.
Excellent.
Lovely.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank all of you for joining us, and hope to see you soon at Hypno Thoughts, or next month right back here for the next virtual chapter.
See you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Night.
Thank you.